doing other duties, and well, Adam's on a milk carton somewhere. So
yeah, he's still missing. If you find him, there's a 25-cent reward.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. We had Father's Day yesterday,
Yep.
so got to spend a little quality time with my dad, and that consisted of saving the kitty.
Saving a kitty?
What do you think about that? Yeah, there's a cat trapped under the steps.
If it was a UK kitty, then I would have just let it go.
Let it go?
Yeah.
Elf into the wild?
Yeah.
Well, I pretty much did, but this one, it was a wild cat.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, so let's get the party started. We haven't been on in 2 weeks, so we got a lot of Western Kentucky sports topics to discuss, namely a lot of commitments. So first off, we'll start on the hardwood version. We got a commitment from a JUCO power forward and Jerichius Bradley from East Mississippi Community College.
He comes in kind of billed as a scorer. Averaged 21 points a game, 7.8 rebounds a game last year in junior college. He was also first-team All-American JUCO. He originally committed to Kent State out of high school, originally from East Memphis High School, class of 2010. And then had some problems at Kent State.
A little bit of problems, yeah. A little bit of checkered pass. You want to go into details on that, or you want me to?
You can go ahead.
Oh, okay, well, anyway, Kent State got kicked off the team at Kent State because he was charged with felony burglary. Went into his girlfriend's apartment, kind of said that she owed him some money, bent her debit card or something like that. Kind of like a little squabble. He was charged with felony burglary. I don't think anything really came about it as far as serving jail time. I think it was kind of squashed. But he got kicked off the Golden Flashes basketball team, ended up going to a community college somewhere.
Midland College in
Midland
Texas. College.
And then he transferred to East Mississippi Community College. So definitely a little bit of a pass there, but obviously with Ray Harper, I mean, you got to think he does his research on these kids. And, people are young and they do stupid stuff. I mean, hey, been there, done that. Not felony burglary or nothing like that, but...
Let's say you bent your girlfriend's bank card?
No, I didn't do that yet. I just bent my own bank cards, man. I'm, tired of this stuff, man. Give me a new bank card. But, yeah, a little bit of a checker pass for him, but, I mean, he comes in, it's like you said, Shane, tremendous scorer, tremendous rebounder, too. And another good stat, I mean, look at his shooting percentage, 50% from the field, 87% from the free throw line.
And he's a big guard, too. He's 6'5", 225, about Courtney Lee size-wise.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more weight than what Courtney Lee had on him. So, he's muscled up, good height.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show you that Ray Harper wants to keep adding players that are athletic, big. Got a good inside game, too. I mean, he can shoot the jumper from inside the three-point range, but you look at his highlight videos, he has good post-up games, too, for inside. So, that's another factor.
Smaller guards in the paint.
Exactly. And here's another thing. I mean, I said 87% from the free throw line. I mean, how often do you see a player nowadays shoot 87% from the free throw line?
Not very often.
It's kind of a lost art in basketball. So, but yeah, I mean, a little bit of a checkered past, of course. It's going to raise a little bit of questions like anything, I mean, we talk about this all the time, in JUCOs. But here's the thing, too. Another interesting fact about Bradley is since he transferred from JUCO to JUCO, apparently he's obviously will be eligible immediately.
Yep.
But he's only going to have 3 semesters left of eligibility. So obviously you're kind of thinking it may be one of these things where he comes in with Chris Harrison-Dox and Trincy Jackson in the middle of the year. And I mean, that's kind of another kind of odd aspect of Western Kentucky basketball.
Kind of a mid-year infusion of
great talent.
Yeah.
That's something you don't see a lot. And obviously, kind of reports are out there that he's currently still taking summer classes at East Mississippi Community College, and so he
did have trouble at Kent State qualifying academically as well.
Yeah. So right now, he's still at summer classes there, but obviously he's a verbal commit. Obviously, he's expected that once he's done with summer classes to come here and sign. But yeah, it's gonna be one of those deals where it looks like he's gonna be a December kind of guy. So I mean, you got to think. I mean, how often do you see it in college basketball where you start off the season and then middle of December you have 3 really talented players just all of a sudden appear in your lineup and you can utilize. So, I mean, that's something you just don't see every day. You're going to have Bradley, Chris Harrison-Dox, and you're going to have Trincy Jackson all be available.
And that mid part of the season, that's the start of conference play. That's the start of, kind of where, maybe players that play a lot of minutes early in the year kind of start, maybe getting a little tired, although Coach Harper and Boyden and all them will tell you that they run them enough in practice that they should never be tired.
So. I ain't running left passes, right?
You know, you get those 3 extra bodies in there, and that adds more depth, and you know, guys can get more rest on certain nights and be more fresh as conference play rolls around. And you know, hopefully this year with the Sun Belt, you know, our mid-year infusion of talent should help us lead the way to a conference championship.
It's gonna be a different aspect for opposing coaches to kind of prepare for, you know, because all of a sudden, you know, I don't know when the exact date is they'll be available, but you know, you got to think the coach that plays them on the first game is like, oh well, I got 3 new guys to really, you know, scout for,
and they won't have
any
much,
video or
much
anything on them. Yeah. So I mean, definitely an advantage for Western, and like I said with Bradley, I mean, you know, despite the past, you know, obviously Ray's kind of looked into that and done some background checking, and obviously thinks he deserves a second chance, you know, and gave him that second chance here at Western. Like I said, I don't know if we discussed it on the last show, but you know, all of a sudden Kyle turned out not to be released from his letter of intent. So Harper was kind of vague about that on the Toppers on Tour stops, but he did say that, you know, he wasn't going to be a part of the team, and you know that he would land at a Division I school. You know, and I don't know what the situation was exactly about Kyle, but obviously, you know, that freed up another opportunity for Harper to make another addition. So, and he made a lot of additions this offseason. As far as some
7 new players
to
the team this year. You know, when you mentioned Chris Harrison-Dox and Tracy Jackson already, but then you have incoming freshman Peyton Holsey, preferred walk-on Brandon Price, and then you have Aaron Adoye and Dowda Samaro.
Good job, man. You're getting good at that.
Thank you.
I like that.
You make me practice a lot.
I know. You're the residential speaker of
pronunciation of odd names. All right.
Oh, you done?
I'm done.
Oh, I thought you had more names.
No, I think we named them all.
Okay, well, anyway, I was just checking to make sure, man. But anyway, where do you see Bradley fitting in the lineup? Do you think he'll be a starter whenever he comes?
I don't know. I mean,
or do you think they're going to kind of be rolling with a set starting lineup? I mean, here's the thing: do you see any of these 3 guys? I mean, that are highly talented, that are going to be available in December? Do you see them kind of sliding into the starting lineup?
Possibly. If we're rolling good though, before they come on board, then I don't see why Harper would change the starting lineup. Mm-hmm. You know, if we're on a good roll early in the season, they would just be, you know, more talent coming off the bench, allowing us to go deeper. And, you know, but if there ever needs to be a change in the starting lineup, you know, you obviously have 3 talented players that can come in, you know, one that's really athletic in Tracy Jackson, one that's a great scorer, now in Bradley, and then you also have Chris Harrison-Dox, who's a great point guard.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have your bases covered in case you need to bring in that extra starter to give you that extra lift to begin the game.
Okay. Who do you think the starting point guard is going to be at the beginning of the season?
I'd say Brandon Price is going to start the season.
Oh, really?
I mean, not Brandon. No,
Harris?
not Brandon Price.
Harris.
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking, man.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Honestly, I wouldn't rule out Peyton Holsey either, though.
Yeah, I mean he's a big guard.
He's a big guard, and you know, he plays point. He did really well at his school. He had 2 top 100 players on his team, including a top 40 player, and both of them will say, you know, that he basically led the show.
Yeah.
Was the floor general on the court, and you know, that's kind of what we need, is that player that's going to distribute the ball well. I kind of like Brandon Harris coming off the bench as being that 3-point threat and adding that spark of energy coming off the bench too.
He did a really good job of that last year, you know, and I also did a really fantastic role in situations where we needed him to be the starting point guard while Jamal Crook was out. So there'll be a lot of interesting factors to consider whenever the season starts and everything like that, and you have, you know, Harrison-Dox, Jackson, Bradley coming off, and Jackson's another one that's going to have 3 semesters left. So, I mean, he's coming in middle of the year, so he'll have a season this season, and then he'll have the whole season next year to play. So it's kind of like Bradley's situation. So definitely something to look out for. And, you know, you look at the players that, you know, WKU has added and Ray Harper and the coaching staff has added. I mean, a lot of people are excited to watch this team this year. I mean, and you got to think, barring
just a lot of talent, a lot of depth and talent.
Yeah, and you got to think, hopefully the injury bug doesn't strike like it did last year, and we'll be able to kind of see this team kind of mold into what Ray Harper kind of wants it to be as far as, you know, going up and down the court, full court presses and things like that. I mean, it's definitely going to be an exciting brand of basketball.
You know, even with all these new faces coming in, you still have like a I guess we could say new old face, and Nigel Snipes coming back from injury. So, I think he's going to be
you considered him new at the last show, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's new to certain people, I guess.
That's okay,
but, I mean,
yeah. Well, he's been going
he
for
didn't
years.
play a whole lot as a freshman.
Yeah,
I mean, he played minutes, but, he didn't get big minutes as a freshman. And, I think now, last year early on, they talked about Ray basically had him slotted in the starting lineup. So if he can come back from his injury and play with that the same way he was playing preseason last year, he could end up being a big surprise for everybody.
We even had Boyden on the show last show, and he was talking about Nigel Snipes, saying, hey, watch out, Nigel's going to be ready.
He's got a good looking shot.
Yeah.
Good form.
And so, a lot of good things for Hilltopper fans to look forward to next year when it comes to basketball. So, like I said, we maybe we're done adding. Are we done adding people for the basketball team? I mean, we just keep adding
I
people.
hope so. I mean, as much as I like seeing new players, I think 7 for 1 year is that's approaching. Where you need to stop.
And a lot of people, kind of think of the turnover. But, I mean, really, if you look at it and people like us that kind of keep up with the basketball team, it's turnover that we really needed, you know, as far as, maybe the players transferring
coming from
out.
the Ken McDonald era and trying to transition over into a new era. I mean, sometimes you just kind of got to clean house, so to speak.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of what.
Ruffles the feathers of some, but, I mean,
Bobby Petrino kind of did the same thing
exactly.
with football.
Yeah.
It's no different.
We're not coaching the team, so I mean, coaches got to do what they got to do, despite what people think, and I mean that's just the system they run, and they see the players and evaluate talent. That's their job, That's what they get paid for. So,
and speaking of football and recruits,
we finally got off on the right foot and got a commit. We did have that Lloyd.
Two commits.
We did, two. Yeah, I was going to talk about the first one first.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, I was getting ahead of myself.
It's okay, man. Don't worry about it. Like, just send me a letter after the show.
Okay.
Apologizing.
All right.
But yeah, we actually got off on the commit list. We got Nicarius Fant, wide receiver here at Bowling Green High School. I know you're excited about that, being a Purple yourself.
I am. That was actually that was a big get. He was being very, very heavily recruited by a lot of schools. It was one of those things though where I think once Petrino came to Western and he knew it was going to be more of a passing offense, I think Western kind of vaulted to number 1 on his list.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the schools recruiting him hadn't offered him yet, but he still had a whole senior season to play, more camps to go to. I mean, he was going to pick up more offers.
Well, the thing with him is, Fant, I mean, his only other offer out there was from Illinois, but like you said, I mean, he had a ton of schools looking at him.
He had Ohio State, Oregon.
Kentucky. Now, the Kentucky thing is kind of interesting because he did go up to the Kentucky camp, and, I think he did pretty good up there, but obviously he was supposed to hear something from the coaches, and, looks like the coaches didn't, send him an offer like he wanted. So, but he's got good relationships here at Western. I mean, I went out to some camp visits, and, he kind of stops by camp, and, he's got good relationships with Braun.
He stops by campus all the time with stuff, from what I see.
So, that's definitely a big thing whenever he committed, because, like I said, it kind of started. You see all these other schools out here, they already got like maybe 2 or 3 commits that are in the Sun Belt and Conference USA and things like that. And you're kind of sitting back and wondering, well, what's wrong with Western? We're not getting any commits yet for the 2014 class, and it's good to finally get that first one under the belt, and it kind of being a big one here in Bowling Green. And you could say Fant's underrated to a degree. I know.
He's still a 3-star recruit.
Yeah, he's 3-star, and like I said, he's getting a lot of interest from other big schools. They just haven't, kind of pulled the trigger and offered him yet. But
I think with Nicarius, he's kind of he was kind of one of those wide receivers that a lot of teams viewed as their 3rd or 4th option receiver.
Yeah.
Just because he, he's kind of fast but not super fast, and he's only about 5'10", 5'11", so he doesn't have the height on him. So a lot of schools go after those 6'2", 6'3" guys that run a 4.2 40, 4.3 40. Fant's running a 4.5 40.
Yeah.
But the big thing with Fant is he has great hands, and for anybody that's been to any of the Bowling Green High School games and has watched him play, I mean, I've seen him make some amazing catches.
You got season tickets, right?
Well, I don't have season tickets. I just go to some of the games when I can. But I mean, he made some catches last year that were Austin Akins-esque as far as diving and one hand grabs, leaping up into the end zone. I mean, he's got great hands.
I like the technique on that one-hand
Did
grab.
you? Like that?
Yeah, it's good. It's well coached.
I was even looking up for the ball.
That's good. It's good. Yeah, you look at a player like Fan. Of course, obviously, didn't have maybe not necessarily the size. Did a lot of, and I think that's what's holding a lot of these bigger schools back from pulling the trigger on an offer. Is he doesn't have the typical size for a wide receiver. Might not necessarily be the fastest guy. But it's like you said, he knows how to get open. He's got great hands. You look at his highlight video. Whenever he does have the ball in his hands, he breaks away from the defenders. So, I mean, it's going to be a good get.
He's got a good center of gravity to keep his balance and stuff, which is huge for a receiver. That's how you get those extra yards.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's a big get for Western, especially getting the ball rolling as far as recruiting and getting commits in for the 2014 class. And I know, kind of looking at his Twitter account, he's going to be a pretty good ambassador, I believe, for Western Kentucky as well. Reaching out to other recruits and saying, hey, here's what's Western all about, come check it out and everything like that. It's kind of like, not to make a comparison to a Kentucky kid, but, I mean, look at Drew Barker committing early to Kentucky. He's pretty solid. And he's out there, talking to receivers, talking to everybody else, because you go on these camp visits, you meet these other recruits.
Yep.
And, you start talking about the school you're committed to and what it's all about and give them a good impression of Western. They come check it out, talk to the coaches, and kind of get the ball rolling. And, kind of speaking of that, got the ball rolling. We got a second commit last night.
Defensive back.
Yep. Defensive back.
/ wide receiver.
/ athlete.
Yeah,
how about
okay.
that?
We'll go with that.
But yeah, Jason Williams out of Champaign. I don't know how to say that, but I'm pretty sure that G is silent. Champaign Catholic.
I'm not trying to pronounce that one. I want to do names.
You want me to do the school names? You just do the...
Yeah.
Okay. Jason Williams out of Champaign Catholic, which is in Hialeah, Florida.
Good job on that.
I know, it sounds exotic, but anyway.
You're learning.
Yeah, I'm trying, man. But anyway, he committed, made a verbal commit to Western Kentucky last night or yesterday. And kind of a kid, like I said, he's big, 6'3", 180 pounds, plays defensive back, wide receiver. I mean, you could kind of see him making a transition and playing either position whenever he gets here. He's kind of one of those that hasn't really broke out yet. The only other offer he's got out there was from Florida A&M. But it's kind of one of those things where his team's so loaded with talent every year that he's kind of got to wait his turn and make an impression. Like, I think he only got to play in a handful of games last year, and he kind of had a breakout spring. And I know Coach Lamar Thomas was kind of down there evaluating him during springtime, went to some of their practices and everything, kind of liked what he saw and, extended an offer to him. And I know it's one of those things where Williams... him and a group of his teammates kind of look at his head coach actually has a website. It's MikeTunsil.com, Tunsil. But he does a good job of kind of on that website kind of promoting his kids and the recruiting trail and everything like that. And I know according to his website on the write-up about Williams committing to Western is he had a group of kids and they made like camp visits around here. And he actually ended up coming by and visiting Western Kentucky. Oh, wow. And kind of like what he saw. And he said by the time before they even got back to Florida, he went ahead and committed and then talked to his parents whenever he got home and decided to make it public. So obviously made a good impression here at Western whenever he came.
I mean, I've said it a million times. Our facilities are right up there with some of the best in the country. And, all it takes is for us to get kids on campus, and Western kind of sells itself.
Yeah, just doing what I do for Rivals and everything. I mean, that's a big thing for kids. Whenever you talk to them, they're like, "Oh, I love the facility. It's like it's top notch," and they're really surprised that Western Kentucky has the type of facilities that we do, and that's a huge selling point for a lot of these kids. And not only that, I think the coaches do a really good job of connecting with the kids as well. And,
I agree.
You got Lamar Thomas, that offered this kid, and obviously, being a former University of Miami wide receiver, back in the day, he's got a lot of ties to the Florida area and things like that. So, you got a kid come up here and, just have a good impression. And I think, really, I mean, you could talk about the facilities, but you can also talk about the campus, too. I mean, the campus is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of players, that's another thing they mention is, say, the campus is great, I mean, just the campus environment, the city of Bowling Green's kind of,
it's not too big, not too small, it's just a good place to go to school.
But, yeah, I mean, on, obviously Williams kind of mentioned that, he said it was probably the best fit for him. So, yeah, he went ahead and made a verbal commit. Seems pretty solid, even though I think his coach said in the write-up that he's still going to take some other visits. And, anytime you're in a position like that, I think a player should. I mean, you get a certain amount of official visits you can take every year. I mean, if I was 18 years old and
Yeah, I'd
somebody
want to be
said,
able to
hey,
travel around a little bit.
exactly.
If you get some free visits out of it, why not?
Why not, man? Look at for all it's worth, right? I mean, experience it and everything. But yeah, it seems like a solid verbal. And talk about speed too. One of the camp visits they did make was to a Kentucky camp, and it was just this past week, and he ran a 4.53 on the laser 40 times. So I mean, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And that shows you how fast he is. And
to have his size and run that fast is
exactly. 6'3". I mean, if he plays defensive back, I mean, he's going to be a menace for wide receivers on the outside just because of how tall he is, and being 180 and being that fast. I mean, he can keep up with the fast receivers as well. So, definitely he's one of those kids that's not rated, right now because I think he's just, like I said, he hasn't had a time to really have any.
Some of those Florida teams are
like
just
that.
are loaded.
Yeah.
Like you said, kids just have to wait their turn.
Yeah, exactly.
And, some kids don't actually start collecting offers till their late junior year, senior year.
Yeah. It's kind of the case with him. So it'd be interesting to see, whenever he goes into his senior season, and even the same thing with Nakarius Fant too. You get these verbal commits early, but you also have to realize that, if they play really well in their senior season, it's interesting to see what other teams kind of come in the mix, start handing out offers, see if the commits will actually stick. But, we got to keep up with the Joneses, so it's nice to get verbal commits, and we got two on the shelf already. So I mean, that's a good thing for Western Kentucky football. So. Mad shout out to that. We got that ball rolling, so it's good to have 2 commits under our belt.
Yep.
So
more to come.
More to come, hopefully. So where do you want to go now, Shane?
We can talk about the APR.
Let's talk about it.
There's a lot of teams in NCAA that struggle with APR issues, which APR is basically the average scores that your athletes have to get on their grades in order to stay academically eligible for the NCAA or for your program to meet NCAA requirements. The NCAA required APR is 900. All 19 of WKU athletic teams exceeded the 900 APR mark by at least 45 points. So that's pretty big shout out. FIU is struggling right now. If they don't get their APR up this year, then there's a big probability that they will have to drop from D1.
It's hard to concentrate.
D1 status,
man.
anyway.
Jeez.
I know. And I think Isaiah Thomas played a big part in their APR issues.
Zeke's all about.
Not Isaiah though.
Zeke's all about academics, man. That's what I heard. All right, let's.
We also had a couple questions on Twitter.
Yeah, go ahead. You can answer those.
Dennis Wilcutt.
Think back.
He wanted to know. He's said he missed the first part of the show. Wanted to know if Frederick Edmonds was going to play this year.
If you missed the first part of the show, you can go to Ustream and watch.
You can go to Ustream and watch the entire show.
You can also tweet at us at Topper Talk TV.
Right. Well, that's what he did.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying he can.
But
if he's got another
he wanted to know if Frederick Edmonds is enrolled at Western, if he's going to play this year. At this point, no.
Still waiting.
Pending.
It's going to be one of those things where I think he's waiting to see if he can be enrolled.
Yeah.
But if he does get enrolled, odds are he's not going to be eligible to play basketball. He'll have to wait a year to work on his academics.
It's all up to the NCAA at this point because his high school lost their credibility.
Yeah. It's really no fault of his.
Yeah, it's not his fault at all. So it's kind of one of those things
administrators, man.
Yeah. But so we're waiting on that. And then David, shout out to David, wants us to discuss the basketball schedule a little bit.
You do that.
You don't know anything about the basketball schedule?
I don't know anything about it. Go ahead.
All right. Well, we do have Ole Miss coming to Diddle.
I do know that. We got it. Marshall Mathers coming in the house.
Yep, Marshall Mathers coming in the building.
Marshall Henderson.
Eminem.
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
That will be, especially with how our student section gets sometimes with opposing players and coaches and stuff. So, that'll...
You think they'll be riled up for that one?
I think they'll be riled up for that one.
I think Marshall can handle the student section.
Yes, but...
He's pretty in-your-face type of guy.
He is, but
maybe
usually
the
when...
student section can coax him into getting thrown out.
See, that's the thing. Usually when players indicate that they heard what you said to our student section, that just adds fuel to the fire. They won't stop then.
Yeah.
We also are traveling to U of L this year, playing at the Yum Center. We added a game with Wichita State for the
That's pretty
ESPN 24-hour basketball kickoff.
That game, is it going to be at 4 in the morning?
No, actually,
okay.
According to Wichita State's press release, we will get one of the better times, one of the prime time game times.
Okay.
ESPN actually worked the deal out for us and Wichita State to play together, so
That's good.
they kind of paired us up.
Now, a good time, Pacific time, or no? I'm just kidding.
They're in Central Time, man. They're not across the country. Come on, that's Kansas.
I wasn't talking about Wichita. I was just talking about the negotiation.
Oh, okay.
Gonna be on at 3 Mountain Time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. Keep going.
We also have Murray State again.
Racers, man.
They will have their own felon back on the team.
Yeah. Zay.
Yeah.
Zay Jackson back on the team.
Jackson.
Just goes to show you can run over somebody at Walmart and still be on the basketball team.
As long as the judge is a graduate of Murray State.
I don't really think Ray Harper would put up with that. But hey, Murray State's coach, he's
Steve Prom.
A little bit different morals, okay?
Yep.
So plus it's Murray's Walmart.
Yeah, it's Murray.
I guess it mattered.
Bede, I know you love to hate the mules, so that one's for you, buddy.
Are you done, or you want to keep going?
I mean, we can keep going. I don't really want to sit here and list every team, but I mean,
that's what Bede wants, man.
If that's what Bede wants,
yeah, go ahead.
But well, I won't list that anymore. But we do have a good schedule this year. The Sun Belt is definitely going to be down. Losing Middle and North Texas, and some of those teams.
You think we'll have a target on our back because it is our last year in the Sun Belt? Think people be gunning for us every time we play them?
I think they will. I mean, honestly, the only other team in the conference right now that would be any good would be Arkansas State. I don't think anybody else is really going to be an issue, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, I know we always struggle with going to the Arkansas teams, but teams like Georgia State, Texas State, I mean, I don't see that being an issue.
Okay.
So I imagine we will have a target on our back from pretty much everybody. They'll want to send us out of the conference not being champion and beating us our last go-around in the belt.
Well, it's going to be the last hurrah on the belt, so we're going to make it a memorable one, hopefully.
Exactly.
So we've added no
more
weapons.
16 seeds.
No more 16 seeds in the tournament, right? Yeah, hopefully that'll be the case. So don't have too much time left. We got a minute left. Well, we talk about, just hit real quick about the possibility of former Hilltopper Courtney Lee being traded from the Celtics.
He may. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that, just with the way the end of the season wound down, and
he kind of got in Doc Rivers' doghouse there at the end of the season.
Doghouse, and now they're talking about sending him with Doc and Kevin Garnett to the Clippers,
to the Boston Celtics West Coast.
Yeah. So I don't know how that'll work out. It's just a waiting game there, but also former Western player AJ Slaughter is in Orlando right now, trying out for the Orlando Magic.
Nice.
So shout out to AJ. Hopefully, he can try to get in the league and make his mark.
He's been doing
a Western grad in there.
He's been having a really good career overseas.
He has. He's been playing well.
Good to see him kind of get his shot at a team. Good for him. Kudos to all the former Hilltoppers trying to make it out there in the pro leagues. And we're running out of time, so we want to thank everybody for tuning in. And we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Go Tops.
See you guys.
Programming is brought to you in part by Wendy's, featuring their Morning Melt Panini and their Wendy's Artisan Egg Sandwich. Now offering breakfast at 3 locations in Bowling Green: Fairview, Scottsville Road, and Russellville Road.
On the next edition of Main Street, we'll meet photographer Clinton Lewis, Minister Dave Garrett, and filmmaker P.J. Starks